Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. I'm going to be looking at the chart of Pope Leo the XIV, previously known as Robert or Pope Bob or the Pope. Now, I've already done this, and I was having issues with my Zoom. And so I went through the whole video, and then when I went back to look at it, I realized that things hadn't, what I was looking at and describing wasn't synced up to what you would have seen. So I'm going to be doing this again. And I don't know what happened. The last couple of days with Zoom, there was some issue. I ended up having to go through my browser, and that's how that didn't. I don't know. The technology stuff is always a little bit of a mystery to me, even when I think I know what I'm doing. And then they upgrade things and then I get lost again. So it would be helpful if I had like a grandson who could show me how to do stuff, but I don't. We're going to try again. Now, I'm doing this. Normally, I do this for my members and for my Patreon folks. Um, and this is the kind of thing that I'm going to be doing more of for my members. But this is an important time, and I did promise that I'd want to take a look at his chart, either in one of my videos that I do in the morning, or maybe it was Mystic Sisters, or maybe it was Moonshine. I don't know. I say a lot of things. I don't always remember exactly where I said them. So I'm going to be doing that next. And one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with everybody is because I am going to be starting a another beginners class in Kabbalah called the Introduction to the Kabbalah. It's part of a two-class series. That's sort of the nuts and bolts of both the Kabbalah as I understand it. Just it's a lifelong thing. So you don't I can't say you're going to learn the Kabbalah, but you're going to learn about the tree of life and how it's formed and what it signifies. And then you get a chance to see how I work with the Kabbalah using things like astrology, using things like numerology, and using things like the understanding of the chakra system, for example. And that's how I do these videos. When I do somebody of note, I will usually use this process. So if you're interested in taking the class with me, it's starting on the 15th of May, and that's a Thursday. It is a 6-week class, and it runs 6 consecutive Thursday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. You would have to change it for your time zone, but I do record all the classes. So even if you can't be present at all the classes, you will get all the videos, you'll get all the notes, and that you get to keep forever. So you always have that as something to look back on, or you can look at it over and over again. It's one of the Kabbalah is not unlike any relationship. The more you put into it, the more you get back out of it. And the word Kabbalah means to receive. So there is a lot of information, energy, um, and that you get from interacting with the tree of life. So we're going to get started with Pope Pope Leo the XIV. Okay, so here's a picture of Pope Leo the XIV, formerly known as Pope Bob or the Pope, if you're in Chicago. He was born September 14th, 1955, so he's on the young side of popedom, as it were, in Chicago. Now, this on the right is the seal of the Holy Seer. This is the actual emblem of the Vatican. I had to look it up, even though I was born and raised in the Catholic Church. I mean, literally born into the Catholic Church. Um, my mother spent her pregnancy in a convent and in a Catholic hospital where I was born. And then I was brought to a Catholic orphanage where I spent my first 11 months of life before my parents adopted me. And then there was 12 years of Catholic school after that. So I am completely indoctrinated in the Catholic faith, although I consider myself now an uncovered Catholic. and I have much more broader perspective on spirituality and different types of religions and, comparative religions and things like that. Always been an interest for me. But it really comes down, from what I understand from my own explorations, and it's certainly not a full exploration of other religions, but I think the core of all religions is love. And when I look at Pope Leo here with his hands somewhere between his heart and his solar plexus, probably a little bit more on his solar plexus, with a face like this, you definitely see heart in this man. And it's going to be interesting because when we look at his numerology, we'll just see how heart centered he is. Now, as far as the history of this gentleman, he was born in Chicago, raised in Dalton, I guess. Ona tells me that Dalton right now is having some sort of political upheaval with the mayor or something. But we're talking about Illinois. I mean, no offense, Illinois. I was born and raised in New Jersey, so I'm no one to speak about politics. But the people, of course, is a whole different story, right? Um, he knew from a very young age that he wanted to be a priest. He used to play act the mass, and he used to give his brothers the communion wafer. Somebody on Mystic Sisters last night said the necro wafers, and they're like, you know what the necro wafers are? And I'm like, yeah, they're made in Massachusetts, the New England candy confectioner, the necro, right? So I have to say, when I was a kid, we never pretended to get Holy Communion. My girlfriends and I mostly played teacher school. We played school because we loved school, and then we would take our dolls and we would put them with the sitter, and we would go race our bikes because that was our other job. So we would during the school year we were teachers, and in the summer we were bike racers, and we would put our little dolls on my aunt's porch with the imaginary sitter. So I guess we've always sort of been entrepreneurial and working women, as it were, in the way back. This has nothing to do with anything except that it's a fond memory of growing up in the city, as it were. So Pope Leo, or we should say Robert, is one of three sons. I believe he's the middle child. He has a younger brother and an older brother. He has one that lives still in the Chicago area and one that lives in Florida. And they've talked to the brothers, and both brothers say that they knew from a very young age that this guy was uh, a priest, and that actually one of his teachers, maybe a nun, had said, "This is going to be America's first pope." And she was right. So, you know, I guess they do know um, what you're going to be. So he did most of his ministry work down in Peru. I believe he was the bishop down in Peru. And he's done a lot of work with I don't know if it's a lot of work with indigenous, but I would believe it would be because they tend to be the poorer people in a country. Um, and so he's very empathetic with the workers, and I was just reading this morning that he's concerned how AI is going to take the workers' jobs away and what's going to happen to the people who work like that. So, and he actually he became Leo the XIV because Leo the XIII was an advocate for the working class back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So he sort of wants to move in that direction by taking the name, but he's also very much aligned with Pope Francis, and we'll take a look at that in his chart. All right, let's get down to Robert. So Robert, or Pope Leo, was born September 14th, 1955. We do not have a time of birth. Hopefully, they'll give us a time of birth, considering that the Vatican has the largest astrological library on the planet, even though when I grew up, this was hocus pocus. You weren't allowed to do this. You weren't allowed to do cards. You weren't allowed to do astrology. All of that stuff was hocus pocus. I was very selective about what I decided to follow in the Catholic Church. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I was good with that. Be kind to people, help the poor. I was good with that. But not looking into the occult, I was not good with that, and have not been good with that, and have looked into the occult for about 40 years now, or longer perhaps. Okay, so his full name is Robert Francis Prevost. Your name that you are given at birth is the vibration that reflects who you've been before this birth. The vowels in the name, considered the inner feminine or the soul vibration, is what your soul has been working on for lifetimes. Your consonants, your outer personality, your masculine energy moving out, how people experience you, are talents and abilities that you bring forth from other lifetimes, as well as what people expect from you, because it's what you show them, and so they expect that's what they're going to get. What you see is what you get, kind of with that vibration. And then the whole name vibrates to a balance of the inner feminine, the outer masculine. So it is a balance number. It's how we impress ourselves upon the world, um, and how we find internal balance as we move through this world. When we add up his vowels, we get two vibrations. We get an 11 and we get a 32. Now, the 11 vibration is the Justice card, and you can see here on the right, I have the cards. This is a little cut off, but you guys probably know the cards enough to realize that that's the Six of Wands, plus I wrote it there. This is 11 is a master number. It's master spiritual teacher. It is also a bringer of light. The 11 brings the light in. Can bring the darkness in. It depends on how you choose to use the 11. But of course, this guy's the Pope. So we know that he is going to be on the light side of things. Now, is that true of every Pope that's ever been? Probably not. But this Pope, I will say, yes, this is who he is. And when you have an 11 in your chart, whether it's in your soul or it's anywhere else in your chart significantly, you understand that what you give out, you get back. It is the law of karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. It is cosmic justice. It's not man's justice, although it works through man's justice. Man's justice is imperfect. Karmic justice is perfect. And as you know, karmic justice has her eyes wide open, and she sees all. She sees all. And now the 32-5 is interesting because this is the same vibration as the word America. It's significant that he's the first American pope. It is also the path of life, or the life lesson for the country of America, or the nation of America. And 5 is about freedom. And so this is, we declare ourselves the land of the free and the home of the brave. But how well do we actually live that in this country? It's our lesson as a country, but it is also the wounds of the United States. And so we can say in the United States, who is truly free, right? And we have had a long, difficult, and dark history, but we have been sort of moving in the direction of of true plurality. Okay, sorry about that. Some words just don't come out right. But we're still working on it, right? But it is our wounds in this country. So not only is he connected to just because he was born in America, but he has the vibration of America within his soul. So he is really soul deep in the American understanding, both the good parts of America and also the more difficult parts, our more difficult history. So this is somebody who vibrationally is very aligned with America, even though he spent most of his ministry down in South America. Now, his outer personality, when we add that up, we get two vibrations. Again, we get a 22. That 22 comes from his first name, Robert. In fact, if your name is Robert, or if you have Robert in your name, say a middle name or a last name, not the S, just Robert. I don't know if I've ever seen a Robert with no S at the end, but it means that you have master numbers in your chart. You would have an 11 in your soul, and you would have a 22 in your outer personality. And the name Robert vibrates to a 33. So the name Robert is all master numbers. So if you want to name people, or you want to name your child or your grandchild or whatever. If you put Robert in there, he'll have the master numbers. Now, but when I say that master numbers, more is expected. More is given, but more is expected. And so it doesn't make it easier to have master numbers. It actually makes it harder because you have to be above it all to a certain extent. This guy is definitely above it all. Okay, so we have the 22. The 22 is the master spiritual builder. It's part of his quiescent. And then he also has a 69-6, which is actually the Ace of Pentacles. All the aces on the tree of life are located in Kether. Kether is the top of the tree. Kether means crown. It's connected to the crown chakra. So when you have vibrations in Kether, you need to have a connection, a direct connection with spirit. And he's the Pope. I have to imagine he's got a direct connection with spirit. But it is in Pentacles, so it's about potential. It's about resources. So things like people being able to feed themselves and find jobs and having their physical needs taken care of would be important to him. This is actually a Taurus vibration. All the aces are connected to the fixed signs of whatever element that they're in, and of course, the fixed Earth is Taurus, and Uranus is still in Taurus. It's actually going to be moving out of Taurus for a little bit, go into Gemini for a period of time, and then move back into Taurus and finish up. It's been in Taurus about 6.5 years or longer. It just has a couple more months left in Taurus. And then by the beginning of next year, it moves into Gemini where it stays for 7 years. So it's almost out of Taurus, but certainly we have felt the Uranus and Taurus getting our roots shaken it's foundational shaking that's been going on now for about 6.75 years. But he does have the 22 here. This is the Fool card. This is associated with the planet Uranus. He does have a prominent Uranus in his chart. In fact, he has Uranus in Leo, and it's opposite Chiron in Aquarius. Chiron in Aquarius is somebody who understands what it's like to feel isolated and different, to feel like an outsider. And so we can see that these tendencies would give him compassion for the stranger or the outsider, right? I mean, invite the stranger and treat them like family kind of energy. Now, when we add his whole name together, we actually get a 101. I only use the numbers up to 78 because I connect them to the tarot cards. And so when you add 101 together, it's 10 and 1 is 11, 11 and 2. Here's the 11 again. So his expression is the Justice card. And this is how he impresses himself on the world. So he would be seen as a fair arbiter, right? Now, that's who he is coming into this life. This is the soul that came in to be Robert Francis Prevost. Now, the day that he was born is your life lesson, and that may be something completely new for somebody, or it can be something that they've already done. In his case, it is a new vibration, and it's a 43-7. Now, 7 is a vibration of understanding self, and the 43 is actually a Cancer vibration. It's connected to the sign of Cancer. In fact, it's connected to the sign of Cancer in the second decan of Cancer, which is 10 to 20 degrees of Cancer, for those of you who are interested in such things. But the Three of Cups is about coming together, right? It's about celebration. I mean, we have the three graces here. This could be three priests holding up the communion chalice, right? But it is about feelings, and it's really about understanding your own feelings because it's a 7. What am I feeling, right? What feelings am I having? Now you might say, well, don't you think he feels things? Well, I imagine he does, but his vibrations are fire and earth. Fire is spirit and earth is body. The cups is emotions and feelings. Now, there's another vibration, the last vibration that I look at, which is probably the most important, and that's the shadow vibration. And that's what he's come in to heal in this lifetime. We get the shadow by taking his first name, Robert, which vibrates to a 33, as I said, and add the 14. And when we put those two vibrations together, we get a 47. Now, a 47 is an 11 vibration. And So his shadow is a 4711. It's the 7 of Cups. Again, there's a 7, right? 7 is understanding your own feelings. And this card, we have this person looking at 7 cups, and these 7 cups indicate the 7 deadly sins. The 4711 is the only 11 vibration found in the lower part of the tree, in the lower self. And so this is considered an initiation of the personality, for the personality to let go of the things of earthly nature and move into the higher self. When we look at the tree of life, I'll show you where that sits and how that works. Incidentally, this is also the shadow of Elon Musk, interestingly enough. Now, this guy is much more connected. Um, and much more compassionate, but there's still emotional issues here, right? And so his shadow and his life lesson or path of life, excuse me, which are the two more difficult energies that you have to work with when you come in, because it revolves around both your lessons and your wounding, uh, are in uh, are in water, and deal with feelings. Okay. So this here is the divine triangle. And the divine triangle is a way of working with the numbers and the letters. And each one of these squares, the youth square, the power square, and the wisdom square, are 27-year periods of time. Each one of these lines is a 9-year line. And so he is 69. He turned 69 on his last birthday in 2024. And he's on this line. He's on this line until 72, when he turns 72, which is 3 years from now. Let's see, it's 2025. 2 years from now, in 2027, he's going to turn the corner and go onto this line, which is the 72 to 81. That's when a lot of the popes do their big work, right? Like right in their 70s to 80s, right? Um, and he'll be on a 1 vibration, but he's not there yet. He's still in this 18-9 vibration. This 18-9 vibration is the moon card in the tarot. It's associated with the sign of Pisces. And what's significant about this is that Neptune, as he became Pope, actually was in Aries, but it just moved into Aries and will be moving back into Pisces at the end of the year, and then eventually move back into Aries in February, and then stay in Aries for 14 years. But Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so there's an ending of an old age, so to speak. At the same time, this year, Saturn, which at the time of his election was in Pisces, is about ready to move into Aries. Again, just like Neptune, will be there for a little while, then move back into Pisces, finish up, and by the beginning of next year, moves into Aries and conjoins Neptune at the first degree of Aries. That's going to happen in February. So we're in a 9-year vibration anyway. And so this is a time when we are letting go of that which no longer serves us, separating the wheat from the chaff, just letting it all go and keeping a vision for the future. That's really what the 9 year asks us to do. And the 9 is a Virgo vibration. The 9 is a Virgo vibration. So in a way, he's sort of, I guess, right on time. These are the cards associated with these numbers. And we can see that his first 27 years is a very Jupiter energy. This is a Popey energy. I call Jupiter the Popey planet. Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules religion. And so this would be the Papa, right? The Pope. And then his both his power square and his wisdom square deal with Mars, the planet Mars. And you know there's a 5 of swords here and a 5 of cups here. This is located on the tree of life in a place called Gabura. Gabura is the place of the spiritual warrior. When you have the squares, these are challenges. Squares are always challenges. Even in astrology, a square is a challenging aspect. And so he's been challenged to work with his Mars energy, his power, but in a very careful way, because Gabura is the place of instant karma. And if you have things in Gabura, or if you spend a lot of time in Gabura, you understand that you don't get away with anything. When he was elected, and this is where he was elected, I can't remember the day off the top of my head, but it was in this period of time. And it's interesting, he was in a 31-4 vibration, which is the five of where let's see, this is actually the five of wands. So this is also in Gabura. So he comes in while he's in a Gabura year, which means he's coming in as a spiritual warrior. And when we look at his chart alongside of Trump's chart, we might have a better idea of what that might mean. But he was in a 15-6 period, which is the devil period. It's a devil year, a devil sub period. The devil is about choosing the light from the dark. And this guy is definitely in the light. On the 14th, which is only a few days away, he's going to be moving into a 13-4 vibration, which is the death vibration, which is a releasing, letting go vibration. And then in 2025, which I didn't put in and I should have, he's actually going to be in a 32-5. So on his birthday this year, 2025, he's going to be moving into his soul vibration. Remember, his soul vibration is connected to America. Okay, so we're going to see some significant interactions come 2025. And 2025 is a 10-1 year, so it's about change. It's about something new coming in. Now, I do not have an accurate birth time on him. So what I've done is I've just put him in an Aries rising chart. Everything falls in the signs that they're in. The only difference, the only challenge may be we have a moon in Virgo. I would guess that he has a moon in Virgo because he seems very humble. The moon in Leo is generally not all that humble, especially because the moon would be sitting somewhere between his Jupiter, the Pope planet in Leo, Pope Leo, and Pluto in Leo. He is the first Pluto in Leo Pope. So that's very interesting. Francis was Pluto in Cancer. Francis had his Pluto at the end of Cancer, and this Pope has his Pluto at the end of Leo. He has quite a bit of Leo. He has two of the transpersonal planets, Uranus and Pluto in Leo. And actually, let me see. This is a 27 and this is 1, so that's 28. Half of 28 is 14. So, and his Jupiter is kind of close to the midpoint of these two transpersonal planets. And of course, I see Jupiter can be the law, can be ecclesiastical law, I suppose. And he has a lot of Virgo, a lot of Virgo. He's got a Sun in Virgo, he's got Venus in Virgo, he's got Mars in Virgo, and perhaps the moon, which I'm guessing he has the moon in Virgo. But until we get an accurate birth time, we're not going to know. He also has some Libra in his chart, some Scorpio. His North Node is in Sagittarius. Now, because this is an Aries rising chart, that North Node sits in Sagittarius's house, but Sagittarius is the house of religion. And it would make sense that somebody with a North Node in Sagittarius could very well become the Pope and a sort of a world leader, because Sagittarius is the big picture. Sagittarius is the grand philosophy, whereas Gemini is much Gemini is like the people interacting with the regular folk, and then when we get into Sag, we are a little bit at a higher level. He does have his Venus square his nodes in his chart. When you have a planet square the nodes, it's sometimes hard to actually make it to release the past and move into the future because the Venus energy hasn't been integrated. Now he has Venus in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is somebody who loves service. He obviously loves service. He was giving his brothers necro communion wafers to save their souls when they were like, I don't know, 7 or something. So we know that he does care. This tends to be a very humble energy. Virgo tends to be critical, but no more critical than they are in themselves. They're sometimes their own worst enemies, and they're not braggarts generally. They don't want to be in the front. I don't think this guy wanted to be Pope. In fact, his brother said he did not really want to be Pope, but he's a man of God and a man of service. And so if he is asked to serve, he will serve in the way that he is being asked to serve. When you have a planet square the nose, there can be what we call a skip steps. And Virgo deals with our sense of self, our self value. And of course, Virgo in itself is going to never feel quite perfect enough. There's a perfectionist quality in Virgo that is its greatest asset and also its greatest wounds to itself. Um, Here is that he has the Chiron Uranus opposition in his chart as well. This is actually part of a T square as well with the planet Neptune. Neptune squaring Uranus and Chiron. This is a very collective energy. Neptune in Libra is the perfection of the balance, the perfection of the relationship. And Chiron is the stranger, the outsider, whereas Uranus also has that energy because Uranus rules Aquarius. If you were born in 1955, you have this in your chart. And so you all have a sense of sort of almost feeling like a strange person in a strange land. Um, and very often that's because you tend to be much more of an outsider in a way. It's hard for you to sort of be part of society because you don't necessarily agree with the things that society, like the oppressive nature of society. Okay. He also has Saturn and Scorpio. Now, Saturn is often the work that you do. Scorpio can be hidden things, right? This is also, Scorpio tends to be very sexual. I feel like he might do some good, and it is square his Jupiter, uh, in the realm of the sexual abuse scandals of the Catholic Church. I think he's going to further that in a positive and healing direction. If he doesn't, it's in his chart that he could do that. Whether he does that or not, of course, is going to be his choice, and it's definitely something that needs to be dealt with within the Catholic Church. I know Francis tried to deal with it. He did do an apology to the Native Americans in Canada. He did what he could do, but Francis, I think, was against a lot of very right wing. He did a lot of things to set this guy up for success, I think. Okay, so here is his tree of life. Each one of these circles or separate is associated with the planet, except for Kether, which is the top. This is the crown. Kether means crown. And this is where we see Pluto and Neptune. He has Pluto in Leo. He has Neptune in Libra. This is Uranus. He has Uranus in Leo, Saturn in Scorpio, Jupiter in Leo, Mars in Virgo, the Sun in Virgo, Venus in Virgo, a lot of Virgo here. See that right across Virgo. Mercury in Libra. The moon either in Leo or Virgo, but my bet is on Virgo. And then his Earth, which this is Malkuth, this is the root chakra, as it were, is in Pisces, always opposite the sun. So his sun is in Virgo, but his Earth, where he stands, is in Pisces. And of course, Pisces is associated with Jesus and the Catholic religion, right? The symbol of the fishes is a Christ symbol and is a symbol for Pisces. And of course, Jesus was considered the avatar of the Piscean age. All right, so this is sort of his setup. Now, I do want to point out that here are his numbers. His master number says 11. He has those two 11s on the path between Mars and the sun. This is the path of justice. In fact, justice holds a sword, which is a symbol of Gebura, and the scales of justice, which is a symbol of Tiphereth. His soul, the 32-5, sits in his heart chakra, Tiphereth. I didn't put the chakras here, but we're looking at crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra. And we can see that his 4711, that's his shadow, is in his solar plexus. So this is really about being effective. This is about allowing your lower self to be a conduit for your higher self. This 4711, this is the Seven of Wands, and I'm sorry, the Seven of Cups. And this is the path of death. This is the death path, 13-4 path. And this is to heal this, you must have the desire, because this is the place of desire, to aspire to your higher self. And your higher self is located here in Tiphereth, in the heart chakra, and that's where his soul lies. And so he still has some things that he's worked out around his lower nature. And with Saturn and Scorpio, it can be kind of his desirous nature that he is healing in this lifetime. But the thing about the shadow is it's pretty personal energy, and we may not know really what that's about. But it could be issues around this sexual abuse scandal that he has to figure out how to resolve as part of his maybe his personal journey, but also the journey for the church. All right, let's continue. So this is Pope Francis's chart. We have an accurate birth time on his chart, but if you notice, they have the same nodal placements. This is Robert or Leo on the outside. And of course, if you've seen my videos on the Pope, you know that he was sort of born to be Pope here with Jupiter in Capricorn. But there's about 19 years difference between these two, and every 19 years the nodes come to the same place. And so in a way, I feel like Francis has sort of built a foundation, and now he takes on the next leg of the journey with the North Node in Sag and the South Node in Gemini. These guys have known each other before. Okay, there was a kinship and a soul connection that I imagine Francis recognized right away, and brought this guy up the ranks so he would have an opportunity, if the other cardinals agreed, to continue the work of Francis. We also have Pope Francis's Mars here in Libra, and Pope Leo's Mercury here. So this is action. These are actions taken, and these are words and ideas. So I feel like he will continue to talk about the actions that Francis took to put the church or bring the church in the direction that it's moving now. His sun sits right on Francis's Neptune, which means Francis's Neptune sits on his sun. So he would have been a spiritual advisor to Robert, or there's a resonance. There's a resonance. We also see Uranus here sitting on Pluto. This is more of how the outer planets work with each other. But they're both outer planets, and not insignificant, but more outer planet stuff that's going on, progression around that. All right, let's see if there's anything else that I want to mention here. All most of his Leo planets, well, all of his Leo, well, not all of them, much of his planetary picture Leo sits in Francis's second house. Your second house is what you value. And so I really feel like there was a deep friendship here. And they were both from South America. They did their work Jorge, or Pope Francis, was from South America. He's from Argentina, and this priest was down in Peru. So I'm sure it wasn't like the first time they met. They probably met at whatever ecclesiastical things they do down there. I'm not privy to that. Now, so we can see here in this chart that really Pope Leo is, in a way, a continuation of the work of Pope Francis. Now, we know that Pope Francis did not have a very good relationship with Donald Trump. He sort of came down on Trump pretty hard. Not that Trump doesn't deserve it. He certainly does. Perhaps he didn't come down hard enough, but you have to play your games, right? This guy is a little bit more, even a little bit more pointed in some ways. I know that Leo, one of the things that Pope Francis was a little resistant to call Russia out for what it did in the Ukraine, calling them the aggressor. I don't think he ever actually called them that, but this guy actually has. So he's pushing that boundary a little bit more than Francis did. But I want to show you, this is Donald Trump's chart, and we have an accurate time on him. And this is Leo's chart. And we can see that the nodes are connected. Now, remember, he has the same nodes, Leo does, as Francis did. So if we were to put Francis and Trump together, the nodes would fall in the same place. The only difference is Pope Francis would have his sun here, would have his sun right here, because he had his sun conjunct his north node. Whenever you see this kind of connection with the nodes, whether this especially conjunct nodes like we saw with Francis and Leo, right? They're on the same path. These are on the same path, but they're in opposite corners of the path, because the north node for Trump is in Gemini, and the north node for Leo, too many names, right? Too many names. Is in Sag. And so they're sort of on opposite ends. And there's perhaps what Leo is doing is bringing more balance to the Trump energy in opposition. But there's also a certain amount of understanding here. I want to point out that Leo's Mercury is on Trump's Chiron and his Jupiter. Now, Trump's Jupiter is his magical planet. It's trine his Uranus, it's trine his North Node, it's trine his Sun. It is stationary, which makes it very powerful. This is why he gets away with everything. It's Jupiter. Jupiter is the luckiest duck, or the luckiest. But we have Leo's Mercury here. Now, remember when we looked at the chart of Leo and where are we? When we looked at Leo and Francis, Francis had his Mars here. So Francis was more of a wounding, influence here. Whereas this guy, we may actually have an opportunity with these two charts, and anything is possible, where he could actually get to and talk to and become some sort of spiritual advisor for Trump. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, that guy doesn't listen to anybody, but you don't know. This is a very fated interaction. Just as Trump came in at the right time and Francis came in at the right time, so does Leo come in at the right time. But I do want to say that who has the upper hand here is Leo. And Leo has the upper hand because his Pluto is on Trump's Mars. And right now in the sky, Uranus is about ready to exactly square this Mars and this Pluto with Algol up here. So who has the upper hand in this relationship? Definitely Robert, Francis, or Leo. A lot of names. So, but we can see the connections here. But there is an opportunity here with this Mercury, and the fact that he's an American Pope matters. It does matter. In a way, you know, a lot of Catholics voted for Trump. A lot of Catholics voted for Trump this last time. And this is, I think, going to bring some retrospection to the Catholic, American Catholic story. These are their vibrations. We have Trump's soul as the tower. I've talked about that before. His quiescent, his outer personality as the Queen of Swords, and his expression as the Page of Pentacles. Pages generally are inexperienced with the element, and the Pentacles is money. So there's his inexperience with money. His path is also a page. It's the Page of Cups. This is a Pisces vibration. Remember that um, um, Leo has Pisces. This is Malkuth. This is located in the lowest Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. Malkuth, the kingdom, and it is a Pisces vibration. The pages, Malkuth, the bottom of the tree. I'll show you. I don't want to just say it without showing you. So here's Malkuth. All the pages sit here. Right? And it's all mutable, all the mutable pages. So we have the Page of Cups, the Page of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, and the Page of Swords all sit in Malkuth. It's considered the place of the daughters, the place of the daughters. But his path is there, and he has his shadow. Trump has his shadow, is a 137-1. This is the King of Cups. This is located in Hokmah. I'll go back again. So Trump's shadow is up here, and this level of the Tree of Life associated with the third eye. So he's blind. Trump is blind as to what he does affects anybody else. Okay. Now, if we go over here to uh, Pope Leo, we have his soul 32.5 in the heart chakra, his quiescent in the crown. Okay. His expression is justice. Okay, so we can already see from these that these are more conciliatory energies, right? More, in a way, spiritual energies than Trump. And then we have his path, the 43.7. This is located in Binus, a 7, understanding self, and his shadow in his solar plexus. So very interesting combination. And then we have what we call composite soul, quiescent, expression, and path. And this is when these two people's energy come together. The composite is what they're here to bring forth as a couple, really, a couple of guys. The composite soul is a 48.3. This is the 8 of Cups. This is walking away. An abandonment of success abandoned. Their composite quiescent, this is their outer, is 13.4, the death card. This is about transformation, change, letting go of what no longer serves. Their composite expression, 25.7. This is the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is the knight that goes on the road and declares what they believe to be true. But it's also a heart energy. All the knights in the tarot are located in the heart chakra, or in Tiphereth, which is connected to the sun. I haven't looked to see their composite sun. I did not do a composite chart on them because we don't have an accurate birth time for the Pope. But their composite sun, actually, if you take 22 and 21, they're square each other. Okay, so that in itself, and they're both Mercury ruled, both Gemini and Virgo is Mercury ruled, but the composite the composite sun, I believe, would be in Cancer. So And of course, the United States is a Cancer country. And their composite path, um, what they're learning from each other is the Justice card. So there's that balance. So miracles happen, guys. Miracles happen, and we'll see how this all works itself out. Hi, I'm back. We'll see how this all works out. But hopefully you found this interesting. Um, I have done many of these. If you become a member of my YouTube channel, this is all in the archives. I've done many, many people. I've done famous people, infamous people. I've done some celebrities. You can check it out in the list of videos for that. Um, but hopefully you enjoyed this. If you want to join the class, you still can. That is, if you see this before the 15th of May. I'll leave links below for that. Have yourself a great day. And I'm doing this on Mother's Day. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. And I'll see you again soon. Namaste.